Check, check, check. So that sounds good. All right, okay. It's back, we're back. All right, round two. We were streaming earlier today, and the first V1 didn't work. It blew up. I figured out why. I'll show you in a bit. But let me get this window up. Oh, it's dark. Let me put a light on. I don't know how much that did, but anyways. So, all right, here's what happened with the board. So this board wasn't working, and didn't see any issues in the front. But if you turn it around, and we zoom into here, we look at where the thyristor is. Not the thyristor, the I can't think of the name. I keep wanting to say thyroid, but it's SCR. Basically not really the SSR. I want to keep saying thyristor, but I think it's thyristor. Maybe it's a thyristor, but SCR. It's what controls the heat element, and it's blackened right here. So it like popped. I think those two connections kind of damaged each other. So when it reaches a certain temp or something, it was shutting off. So get it better. Enhance. So right here, you can tell that's not supposed to what it looks like. I'll grab another one. So this one looks like it's shorted with that one. They're supposed to look like this, all nice and clean. But this is not nice and clean, so I think that's where the issue lies. So that's when it hit first crack, and then it would just kind of reset itself. So I put a new board in. I'm gonna have to scrap this one, or we'll see what I could do. I might be able to take another thyristor out of another unit. We'll see. But anyways, we're gonna go back to roasting with this unit that I'm supposed to be sending out next week. So we'll give that a shot. I'm gonna turn this off. Turn this light off, looks weird. There we go. Anyways, we're gonna do a little bit of a rundown with the HiBean module. It's the standalone module that the HiBean sells. So I'll go ahead and I'll load that up. There it goes. So this is my tablet. So if you would go to your tablet app, you would hit the HiBean app, you would connect via this way, and I'll kind of show you how you would connect to it. So I'm gonna delete this device real quick. So if you're starting fresh, you'd hit this plus sign at the top right, then you would look for your V1. That V1 should be right here, called Skywalker. You have two versions you could choose from. Not really you could choose from. If you're doing it the ESP32S3, they look like this. If you're using that, if you bought one on Amazon, you would be using the community version because that's the community firmware version of it. But if you're doing the HiBean one, then you'll be doing the one that's off of AliExpress through HiBean. Then you would select Skywalker HB. So it supports OTA and developed by the HiBean team. So 2 different options. One's community. If you buy an ESP32 S3 on Amazon, or the Skywalker HiBean unit. So I'll pick this one. All right, and then you're really looking for anything that says HiBean. So it's called HiBean and US. Wait for that to load. Next thing you do is, once it's all paired up, you'll see this green bar. Usually means that it's connected. So go to quick control, and you just want to make sure that there's no delay. And what I mean by delay is, as soon as you turn on cooling fan, it turns on with a second. Or if you hit the drum, as soon as you hit that button, it turns on within a second. If you notice you have like a 5-second delay, you pretty much have to unplug and replug it in. Maybe like a 2-second delay, but it shouldn't be longer than 1. And then make sure your heater works. Looks good. All right, that's all check, check, and check. So we'll go to device, and when you first start, you're gonna have to put in some of the bean information manually. So you would go here to the middle icon. So you usually start from here, tap the middle, and then you would hit new. So tonight, it's like midnight, I'll be doing a Peru Habal Perla Mayo. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm doing a Rwanda Gitwe Morambe Honey. I already opened it up. It's at 555 grams. So sweet base layers with bright accents, profiles of coffee, hard candy, caramel custard with lemon sauce, earthy yellow tea, and bittering aspect of Dutch cocoa powder. Whatever, right? So that's what it's supposed to be. So we'll do a custom profile. We'll make a name for it. We'll call it I'm gonna call it Git. You can set the reference curve, profile name, set the Git, GIT. Get the profile for there. All right, so Git's in there. We'll go to device. And you could switch it to Git if it's not there already. We could hit switch and then hit Git. No, you can select the reference curve if you have one from before. So you can do that. But we won't do that. We'll just leave it blank. I'm gonna replace this log. I don't want that log. I'll delete it. I'll try it again. I'll make a new one. Custom profile. Call it Git. Short for Gitway. And go to device. So no reference curve set, so you can set it up like that. We'll do a start manual roast, and then we'll warm this up. So I'm going to turn the drum on, turn the fan on, set it to 30s. I like setting it to low 30s. And then I'm gonna hit preheat. And then it's gonna try preheating to 200. Now, if this decides to crash, then I'm gonna go to sleep. We'll see how this works out. Hopefully the board is all I needed to fix it, but who knows? So what we'll do is for the first time running it, you can always do seasoning beans. They used to run, in the early V batch ones, they used to run actual roast through it. So technically they already do a seasoning roast on it. But with recent units, a lot of people are finding that they're just green beans in there, so they're not really roasting anymore. So it might not be taking off those residual like oils from the factory. So I'm changing. I kind of changed my perception of it as maybe just do a seasoning roast with beans you don't want. But I think most of the oils will be kind of burnt out when you get them to like 205 degrees Celsius for 5 to 10 minutes. Or higher. You go scorch earth, but you're most likely going to set off the fuse or the relay. So like 210 should be safe. But if anything, you just do 200 and just try burning off all those factory oils. But I think it might be better just to use beans to kind of not really clean it, but I guess that's what seasoning beans are supposed to be doing, cleaning up the motor for the drum before roast. But yeah. So we're just gonna wait. Hitting a 178. It's doing pretty good. Checking inside, looks great. Things you want to do: make sure this bean chute isn't open. So if it's still like that, you could just pull a little bit, but you want to make sure it's closed all the way. This, make sure it is turned clockwise and it locks in. Otherwise, if it's upwards, you could collect beans on there and it's really close to the lamp, so you might start a trier fire. It's happened to me before. Also, even at this time, it'd be a good time to check if your chaff bin is empty. Sometimes I don't check and I'll try roasting with it full, then that's a chaff fire waiting to happen. And if you look at the heater, it's set to preheat to adjust the temperature to maintain 200. So once it hits 200, I'll give it about a 5-minute warm-up period. 5 to 10 minutes of warm-up. Maybe 10 if you're first few roasts, and then you could do 5. We'll go back to the curve. So right now I'm just want to do a run and make sure it doesn't turn off. That was my biggest issue with this roaster. So that's because the board was bad. So hopefully we'll get through a whole roast here. If it's good to go, then I'll send it to the guy that I set it up for, because I have tons more roasters I need to work on. Right, let's see. Good, so it's kind of keeping within the 200 range. It's going to fluctuate up to 1 to 2 degrees, which is fine for pre-warming. Probably not so much if we're running an actual roast, but I don't think HiBean recommends you use their software PID yet for roasting. So we're waiting it to warm up. Let's see. Right now with my setup, I have it HiBean here, then I have my Airwave over here, so I don't kill myself by inhaling bad stuff. And I have a little air quality monitor up top, so it's able to tell me how bad the air is. Right now it's green, so green is good to go. So you want to have your charge temp, kind of have it, what do you think you have in mind? So usually I'll start off with 200, but if I really want a high like thermal momentum to go on and carry the roast a little bit faster, I might start at like 205, 210. 210 at the most. I don't think I ever go past 210 for really dense beans. So I think mostly more high altitude beans are a little bit more dense. So usually if they're a little more dense, I like to run them a little bit hotter. I don't think they scorch as bad as like low density beans. And just for the sake of this roast, I'll be doing just changes to the heater instead of using like the fan. Fan's a little bit more higher up there in terms of like control. And I think most of the control happens at the heater section versus the airflow section. Yes, you can cool off the beans a little bit better and maybe make your curve look a lot better on the decline part, your RR curve, your rate of rise curve. But if you're starting out, we'll keep it simple. We'll change the heater setting and we'll just lower it over time. Once you feel more comfortable about increasing temperatures to kind of really smooth out that curve, then that'll be that's when the time you start using the air. But for now, we're just going to be using heat and decreasing it over time, gently. And you kind of what you're doing when you're roasting is you're kind of monitoring your ROR, and you're kind of using that as like your guide, your accelerometer, your speedometer, making sure it's not going too fast, and then slowing it down if you do notice like a great increase. But what you want to prevent are those large fluctuations. You can have small fluctuations; those are fine. It's those big up and down fluctuations you want to be really concerned about when you're roasting, because they do affect flavor. All those big roasters, Rob Hoos, Scott Rowell, they all notice that a slow declining RR curve is something that is consistent with good tasting coffee for them. Not to necessarily say that those flicks and crashes will be the end of the roast and you have to throw it away. You can still see what it tastes like if you even have those flicks and crashes. And when I'm talking about flicks and crashes, I mean huge deviations, huge jumps. Anyways, enough of that boring stuff. Where are we at? 4, 6. I'll give it a few more. I'll give it another minute, and then we'll start adding beans in. So, we're running the airwave. Very quiet right now, which I like, because I roast in my garage and I don't want to have an exhaust vent. So, I'd rather spend a ton of money on this stupid thing to keep my to keep me healthy. So right now it looks like that's preheating pretty well at the 200 degree mark. So we'll go ahead and we'll put some beans in. So I got 455 grams in here. So I'm going to dump them in, then I'll hit charge. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, make sure everything's closed off, and then dumping. Hit charge, and restarts everything. And then I'm gonna, I'll set it to 70. We'll set it to 75. I think sometimes with larger batches I like to start off with 80, but we'll try 75 today. See how that goes. It's gonna prolong the roast past 8 minutes. So I'm gonna try to keep it within 8 to 12 minutes. we'll see what the bean does. Overall, it's really hard to try to make up a curve and then try to fit it into the bean and make it do things that way. It doesn't really kind of work that way. You should do a roast first, see how the bean reacts to the heat, and then adjust your curve, I think is a better way. So what the first milestone we're gonna hit is turning point. So turning point is the inflection period where the temperature goes upwards after going from downward spike. So it'll curve upwards and then it'll label it as turning point. And it should do it on the HiBean map. Right there. So now we're on the rise. So right now I usually let it run maybe up to 3.5 to about 3 to 4 minutes. Checking the curve, I'm looking at how it rises. It's gonna start rising and it's gonna might hit a little bit of a peak. And sometimes there's like this little false peak where it does like a little bit of a peak, go down a bit and then go back up. So we're gonna watch out for that. Some beans like to do that. So there's that yellow curve, that's your ROR, and that's your guiding path, your speedometer. What it should do is should rise, and then you want to make it fall gently. It doesn't always happen that way. You might have a little bump here and then a big rise, but we'll see. See that little divot down and then backwards up? That's, you kind of don't want to make your heat adjustments based off of that one little bump because it's still going up. So this might be a little second bump. It might go up a little bit higher or it might stay there. But RORs are like 13.5. I don't think it usually gets higher than 20. So now it's kind of going downwards a little bit. If it spikes up again right here, then I might drop the temperature right now. We'll see. Might be going up. And if it's hitting a little bit of like a plateau, okay, we'll see how this works. All right, it's going downwards a little bit, so I'm just gonna start from here, drop it down to 70. This is where I'm gonna start dropping the curve downwards, or at least trending downwards. You can have little hiccups up and down, especially if you're pulling the trier in and out. Right now, we're just gonna let it roast. Let it go down. I did it to 70. If I see it go up higher, like if it starts peaking up again, then I might drop it down to 65. You only can go in increments of 5 on the Skywalker. It's just how it's set up. All right. You're watching it. Just keep in mind 154 degrees Celsius is around when dry end phase begins. Which is a fancy way of just saying you're seeing your beans go from like a greenish to more yellowish. Usually the rationale now that people use is pulling out in the trier, looking at it, and if you see even like a faint of green, keep it in there for another degree or two and then pull it out and see what happens. So it's peaking up a little bit, so I'm going to just drop the temperature just a bit, or dropping the power, heater power down a little bit. I was a little bit late on that one. I probably should have paid attention to when it was trending upwards. When you're doing things like checking, plateau a bit. I'm gonna drop it again, 60. So what you're doing now is what you're checking for during dry end phase is you're gonna pull the beans out and look at it through the trier, and it's just a visual check. You can look through the glass too. It's sometimes a little bit helpful, but I think it's better just to get a sense of what it looks like in the trier. And some beans, like if you pull it out and you smell it, it smells a little bit sweeter. It doesn't have that like hay kind of smell, like it doesn't smell like, I guess, grainy. So 155, I'm gonna just take a peek, see what it looks like. Maybe a 1 or 2 more degrees up. Also notice your dryer pulls, because that's also gonna affect the temperature of the probe. I wish there was a button where I could say, I did a dryer pull right here. All right, I'm gonna check it again. Smelled a little bit sweeter. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to hit dry end phase. Watching the curve, seeing how it looks like. It's not going on a downward trend, so I don't wanna like let it drop off too much from there. I'm gonna see if it plateaus again. But if it starts going up a bit, I don't want it to plateau too much, so I'll go down to 55. All right, dry end phase is complete now. We're on to the next milestone. Next milestone right now will be first crack. And first crack is exactly what it sounds like. You're just listening for the first symphony, is what some people like to call it, of cracks. It's not just one crack. It's usually like 1, 2 or 3. I'll say 2 or 3 cracks. Like you're not hearing just pop, long pause, and then pop. You're kind of listening for pop, pop, pop. Like popcorn kernels, if you ever done that before. You know, make popcorn. It should be like, not loud pops, but little cracklings is mostly what they sound like for first crack. So still trending downwards pretty well. So we're at 173. It's doing pretty good. 185 is when we'll hear first crack. Spiked up a little bit, so I'm going to just drop it down to 50. So again, we're just looking at how well it's going down, waiting for first crack, what it's looking like. What temperature around 180, 185 is when you might start hearing it. All beans are different. The roaster is smaller, so the reaction to the graph is a lot quicker than you would expect, like a more traditional drum roaster, or those conduction or convection roasters. Those changes could take several seconds to occur. I think like old conduction roasters, there's like a 30-second delay before you notice like heat to ROR kind of adjustments when you decrease the heat or anything like that. All right, take off my headphones. I'm gonna start listening out for first crack. I'll put my microphone right next to it. I heard 1, 2, 3, there. Now, this is the development phase. I'm going to lower down the heat a little bit more. Now I feel like this is where the color really occurs. So this is where you're going to see how long the roast is going to take. So usually people say maybe like 1:30 or more in the development phase, or after first crack, to see what you know, get it past close to light roast or light roast, and then I think 2-minute mark or is around the medium roast when it starts. For this one, I'm keeping on in the time. I'm going to pull this out at 1 minute 45 seconds, mostly because of all the sweet notes that it has. All right, so now I'm going to hit drop. So this is like at a 455 gram load, or gram charge. So a lot of people recommend getting an external bean cooler. I would probably agree with them, especially if you're going for that sub 4-3 minute kind of cooling. That seems to be like the cooling spot people like it at. So what you're gonna have to do though when you're cooling the beans is you're gonna have to start agitating them a bit using the long stick. When I mean the long stick, I mean this. What you want to do is you want to kind of stir it around, move it a bit. And people like to, when they cool it, they like to do it like maybe halfway. But I still recommend agitating it. If you want to put in the money to get an external cooler, that's fine. I've seen people have the ones that just blow a lot more air. I've seen people the ones that have it stir constantly with the air, and then I have people really just transfer the bean basket over a box fan, or put the beans in a cooler over a box fan, and then it cools it off real quick. So you don't have to get anything too fancy. For me, I've still used the stock configuration, but I know if you were to flip the fans the other way, blowing heat onto the beans cools it a lot faster in comparison to sucking all the air out. But I will say that the 1 kilogram roaster and the HiBean roaster, whatever fans they put in there for whatever relative size batches they are, so 200 gram batches for the HiBean, 800 gram batches for the 1 kilogram machine, the bean cooling actually works. Like I get like sub 3, I think around exactly like maybe 3 minutes and a couple seconds where it fully cools down the 800 grams of beans. For sure, the HiBean cools down within the 3-minute mark. All right, so let's go back to HiBean. So for here, let's complete the log. So 15% DTR, development, Delta Dev, yada, yada, yada. So here, This one's at 455 grams. And then once this cools off, I'm going to do the weight. And right now, it feels pretty warm. The beans are cool. Metal's still hot. So I'll give that a few seconds. But this does take probably like 5 or 6 minutes to actually cool. Sometimes 10 if it's a really hot day in the garage. Feels like it takes forever. So I'm just gonna wait, and then that's it. And then I'm probably gonna give it to the guy. It works now, so I figured out what the issue was, and at least I know I can finally send this one out. I'll probably send him a little bag of these beans too. That feels cool enough. Cool. All right, let's see what the measurement looks like. Let me put this in this jar. Let me measure it first. Oy, oy, oy. All right. Oh, this comes with the scoop. So it looks like around I should put it on here. Anyways. I gotta remember I gotta put this on a flat surface. So this looks around 393 grams. Post roast. It's about 13.6%. Probably should have went a little bit longer, but that's alright. I'm gonna put this back in this vacuum bean thing. All right, one unit down. I got several more units to go. I'm gonna turn off my turn off my airwave, so that's going to cool off. All right, and that's it. That's roasting with the HiBean unit. Was able to successfully do a whole roast. It looked like it did a great job. Now I got to fix more of these units, and it looks like it takes me several. Looks like the whole process takes way too long, but better than having an upset community member. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the HiBean. I don't know. If you feel like you want to see it with Artisan or anything like that, let me know. It's probably going to look the same. But that's it so far. Still more updates. I think the next big thing we're doing is big thing we're doing is adding the brushless drum to the brushless worm drive drum to the V1, and then adding a belted setup to the drum as well. Just giving people options if they want to do that kind of modifications. And then I'll probably do one roaster. I know it has a bad board, so I have a extra V2 board that I purchased, or not purchased, that I was given. So I'm going to put that V2 board into the V1, and I'll show you how you can wire it to have all the features of like a V1, all the features of a V2, but it's still in the V1, and then how you can hook up that motor. And it should all work the same. You technically have to get a tablet to run it if you want to use it in tablet mode, so you have to buy their stupid ass tablet. But there are ways around it. Like you could use the USB without the tablet, top USB on the tablet from the V2 to run it through Artisan. You can also, I found the packet that it sends to where you could put it at the bottom USB port, and then it will activate the Bluetooth mode. And it's like, I think I can set it up where I insert it, thing roast starts, and then I can't figure out how I want to set it up. Like I want to do a time delay where it just spams the Bluetooth code, or if I want to just do it by like a button, where I'll press a button. I was trying to figure out what's the least complicated way of just starting it, but it would be it's literally just sending one packet over UART that'll say, hey, turn on Bluetooth. And I think we could connect like ESP32 to it, and I think that should work, theoretically. We'll see. The way the bottom port communicates is through UART packets, so we'll see. That's the next project. But right now, just getting a V1 motor, or V2 motor into a V1. I already have that going on upstairs. I just have to button up a few things, because I also added a thermal exhaust probe. So we could start looking at that and seeing if that's any use. Because I know V2 has an environmental probe. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'd rather go see what's happening at the exhaust side. If that's any good, or if it does it do anything for us, who knows, probably doesn't, but more telemetry is always good telemetry. I think those are the two biggest things. I know eventually I'll have to get started on implementing PID to... I got to get in touch with all the techie guys on our community and seeing how they want to implement PID, and finding beans we can share with each other to properly set it up. Right now, you'd have to manually enter your PID values, and it's going to be different with each roaster because each lamp is a little bit different. Everyone's setup is a little bit different, but I think we should probably set up some type of pre-tune, especially if you have a certain amount of bean. Setting up a tune to get auto PID settings and seeing how that works out. But that's a lot of free work I have little time for. Actually, my primary thing is to get all these. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 roasters that all need to be worked on. Worked on like add a motor, add a board, nothing huge. Although I did have a unit that looks like someone had a fire with it again, so I don't know if it's a fire or they just let it drip coffee fluids all over the fucking place, so I have to clean that one up and maybe fix it, but we'll see. Yep, so I got this one all set up for a person that lives across the country from me, so I'm gonna send that out to him this week. And I found out I still have a V2. I gotta sell that V2. I don't need 3 V2s. I definitely don't want 3 V2s. I need to sell 2, so. What else? I think that's it. That's it for tonight. I'm gonna go wash dishes and feed my dog. Not feed my dog, let my dog out. But yeah, feel free to go back and watch it. I think I did a pretty decent roast, except at the end. The curve did kind of jump upwards, but I always assume when the RR jump, it's because of like the exothermic reaction of the first crack. Like it's releasing all that steam and then the temperature shoots up. Who knows? But anyways, yeah, that's it. I'll see if I can upload this graph to our Rosetta too. I can't remember if someone did a Rosetta converter from HiBean JSON files to A-log. So I'll have to ask the community about that one too and probably post it up somewhere. But that's about it. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to just message me. It's the best way to do it. Preferably on Discord. You could try the Facebook group. I don't know. That place is the Wild West. There's like 4,000 people there, and some people like to spread random information, so I'm not on there too much. Anyways, all right. Thanks, and I will see you later.